natural position. You can see kind of his stats. They're not great at this level. Anything that's a 10 or above, anything double figures is generally quite good. But what you'll notice is if I just click on goalkeeper, you'll see kind of how things change. There's little things that just kind of you work on more with sweeper keeper, so the passing, general distribution gets worked on better. The composure, so he can handle one-on-ones, you'll see it's something that gets worked on, which you don't get with a goalkeeper just by training him or using him as a goalkeeper, but the standard role, and that's quite important. And then likewise, we've got the fullbacks. The fullbacks are learning complete wingback. If I show you with Michel Wilbert, he's one of the regens we brought through at the start, just because he could play in a few positions, but he's got decent potential. And he's a centre back by trade, apparently. I never understand this. If you're a natural centre back, surely your best role should be as a centre back. But if you're just accomplished, then who knows? Anyway, so obviously in the first team we use traditional fullbacks, and this is kind of what you see as the stat makeup. He's developing fairly nicely already, and the role we're trying to teach is complete wingback. So if you watch over here when I click on it, boom, that's what it's developing. And there are things, it develops their speed, it develops their composure, it develops their crossing, it develops little technical attributes that you don't get to develop with a fullback role. And or it should be. I'm going to find out I've got this all wrong now. But yeah, that's the role he's training on as well. So what you get is that combination of this is what they're training for, but it's also what they're playing week in, week out for the under-20s, for the reserves. So they're going to learn it. Alan Giussoni, I think we've seen him in the first team. We've seen him once. He came off the bench in the cup. A few of his stats are going down. That's fairly natural. I think we may have him being tutored, which might explain that. We don't. We're going to look at that off screen because it's a lot of work. Let's go back into it. Also, having low determination is always a thing with a developing player. You're not going to get a good determination player, but if we can build it up a little bit, sort of 7s or 8s, we'll do that. But again, his best role is defensive centre back, which literally just works on jumping, heading, tackling. The really basic level centre back. If that's what you have him playing as, those are the only things he's going to develop. He's all these things, so like stamina is still going to be awful. Things like his passing are going to stay awful. Teamwork, vision, work rate, they're going to stay awful. But then if you go ball playing defender, which is what we've got him learning, we're building the things that he's really weak at: his first touch, his technique, his passing, his vision, his everything. Composure, his concentration. We're just going to make him an all-round better player, and these are things you can't develop just through time, hope, and expectation. The hardest ones to develop using this formation is the winger, because there isn't really a duty that is kind of a catch-all for developing players. So what you often find, I'm not sure I've done it with either of the two lads that are going to play today. But you have them playing as a winger on an attack duty, so you'll see all the various skills they pick up, the flair and the passing and the whatnot. Like I say, I'm not sure what I've got him training as a winger, but I'll show you using just the tactical view thing. So this the main view. What you can do with this, and it might confuse things, especially with a player who's just not very good. You play them as a winger, so they develop all this stuff, but then you teach them either wide midfielder, which works on things like their teamwork and their vision, or wide playmaker, which really works. So you have them playing a different role to the one they're learning, so hopefully you get kind of a more all-round development of stats. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Full Manager 18. We're back in Vanuatu. For those of you who managed to suffer through yesterday's video, I apologise for the sound. Turns out you pick up a lot more when you plug in your actual microphone rather than using the one on the system. You live and learn. But as you may have or may not have been able to hear me say, today's going to be a little bit of a special episode, because I've been talking about the under-20s and how I use it to develop players. I said I was going to show you how it works. So we're playing in a cup game today. It's the under-20s cup first round. We're going to it's going to be a bit more technical than it is anything else here, because I kind of want to talk you through just how how things kind of work with it, how I'm developing players, how I'm making it work. And obviously this will change depending on the size of the club. I don't want the tactics for the first team. That's not going to help us. But I'll talk you through how we develop players, how we make those players kind of develop into something we want in our first team. And the first thing you'll notice, this is the tactic we use. It's the 4-4-2 development tactic. It is on Steam. You can look it up, and it will appear. So if you want to try it out for yourself, I think it works. It will work better for lower league sides than it will for big clubs. Purely because at a big club, you kind of want to be developing players to fit the system that you're using. Whereas at a level like this, where your players, they're fairly average all round. You're not going to get many standout talents, or certainly not world-class talents. You kind of want to be able to just develop their stats all around, and that's kind of what this system does. So it'll work if you're in England. It'll work probably for a decent conference or conference south side further down. Probably work in Scotland in sort of their bottom 2 divisions. It'll work in the Welsh Premier to an extent. It's a lower league development. All we're really trying to do is develop as many of our players' stats as evenly as we can, just to try and make them as well-rounded a player. You know, I've got no expectations that anyone playing at this level is going to master complete forward, that they're going to master roaming playmaker. If they do, fantastic, but they won't. Likewise, ball playing defender. But the reason I've got, you know, this set out the way is just to help them learn these roles faster and develop their stats. So what you'll see is we've got Clayton Otton, who's going to be playing goal. We're going to play the game as well, just because you guys like some match action. I know you do. So we'll play Clayton Otton's our new signing, our new goalkeeper. We picked him up from Gibraltar. He's technically better than Mamani, but I don't want to slot him in just yet because Mamani is playing very well for the standard. If we look like we need him, he'll come in. But we've got him playing as a sweeper keeper. It is his looking into the centre of midfield. Again, you guys know Paral and Leao. They've both featured for the first team. Leao scored in his debut, as you'll remember. His best role is a central midfielder, and it's good. It develops things, but you'll see all these stats outside here that aren't highlighted that are developing, and that's because we've got on the hardest role there is to learn, which is roaming playmaker. And okay, his jumping reach is suffering. That's fine. I don't really want to use him as a centre back anyway, because he can't head a ball to save his life. But you see all these other attributes that have just come up. That are going to make him a really nice all-round midfielder. They're going to make him just generally quite handy to keep around the club, help him achieve his potential, and playing in that role will help him just as much. Leao, again, he hasn't made much progress. His best roles are in defensive midfield. I don't really use defensive midfielders unless I have to, but you'll see the difference that you get between using him there and using that. Everything's getting developed. And his determination's a bit low. I really want to work on that again. Trying to find a player to be a tutor in a league like this is almost impossible. You're not going to find anyone with decent determination. You're just going to have to hope luck of the draw. And then up top, if you look at Sumar, who's the English guy that I always forget what he came from. Nuneaton, there we go. I've really got to get better at using these menus. I've only been playing Football Manager since the mid-90s. You'd think I'd be alright here by now. But again, his best role up front is a poacher. Nothing wrong with a poacher, but again, it's a very basic. He stands in the box, he puts the ball away. He's very good at what he does. His first touch, his finishing, anticipation coach, they're not awful for this level. He's quick. But then what you see is if we go to complete forward, he develops everything. It's not working on his stamina, which is something we need to kind of work on, but it comes naturally with more training, more time. These are only part-time or amateur players. They're not training as often as you'd like. At a club that was full-time at this level, you probably expect to make more progress. Like if you're one of the guys like me, likes playing in Gibraltar, and you can get a club up to being full-time, this is the kind of thing that's going to really bring those players through for you. But he's learning everything. He's making himself generally a better all-round player. His determination's dropped, but again, I've got no tutors to make anything useful. So that's kind of a brief overview. Like I say, if you look at the analysis screen, the new feature for this year's game, what you'll see is all these red and brown blotches. There are significant. This tactic is not about winning games. We happen to be winning games or drawing games. We happen to be unbeaten in the under-20s playing this formation, which is largely because we're the only team, I think, in this with any actual players. And I think once regions start coming through, you'll start to see us getting smashed at under 20 level. It's not about winning, which is why this formation looks a bit of a mess. Please, if you do download this, please don't try using it for a first team, purely because as a basic tactic, these two guys here are literally looking to pick up the ball and do something with it. They're not trying to defend. They're going to get taken. You will get taken to pieces if you try and play a midfield like this. These guys, there's no point having a ball playing centre half, especially two ball playing centre halves, if there's not a defensive midfielder here, because they've really got no one to pass it out to. These guys might drop deeper, they might not, but there's no outlet for them. You'll find the complete wing back. If we look what a complete wingback does, they like to attack, they can do defensive duties, but they try and affect the game in the final third. They're not defending, which means you're vulnerable as hell here. This is where they're based as a player. You're going to be vulnerable there, because he's spending his time running up and down this wing. Obviously wingers, they work, that's what wingers do. Complete forwards, these guys, they're trying to do everything. So when you've got balls coming forward, it's not like you're looking for the target man to flick it onto the poacher like you would usually at a lower league level. These guys are really just trying to learn a role. The reason I've got one on attack and one support is just purely because I want them to develop that slightly different side of their game. Like if I show you using Suma as a support, these are the things they develop, and then you move it on to attack, and they just one or two things change. So you see, you go from the support will focus more on finishing, the attack is going to focus more on finishing, but also they're going to try and bring some long shots into their game. It's a very slight change, but it's just going to make a little bit of difference. And that's kind of the way we look at playing. So I'm going to advance the game. I'm going to try and get into this match. Playing Moriki is a cup. You're going to see how it works. I don't know if we're going to win this game. Honestly, I don't care if we win this game. So if I don't talk about what's going on in the field much, don't hold it against me. It's really just not like I said. Just before we start, this is the team we're starting with. Otten is a guy we're going to start to see as time progresses. You've seen Jasoni before. Body's just come in. He's going to be a good prospect. Costa as well is just going to be a good prospect. Midfielder will feature mostly off the bench. Taka, Liao, Parao, Hatabi. Hatabi is our kind of second choice left winger in the first team, but he plays. He will rotate in and out as necessary. And Tyreek Leslie, who's seen off the bench a few times, he's not really been super effective in the first team. He's not scored a goal yet. He's just a guy who's going to bring off the bench to give Krishna or Gishani a break when we don't have any. I would have started any, but I'm very aware that we've got a game against Sierra. A is a fan day. It's just been a fan day. We've got a news item that's coming up, and I want to keep him sort of fresh for that. I know I could rest him and I could, all that kind of crap that we do, but I don't want to risk him getting hurt because he looks like he could be a real prospect. So we're going to go into the game. We've got the team selection through. I don't think there's anyone on the bench. I should have had a look. I don't think there's anyone on the bench you guys will recognise or know from the the main save, or from the first team I should say, of this save. But we'll go into the game, we'll see what happens. If I see anything tactically interesting, or anything that's worth pointing out that either highlights the points I was making earlier or makes me look like a twat, which is very, very likely, then I will point them out to you. But like I said, we're just going to get the game going. We're going to see what happens. a lot of these guys aren't fit. I'm not overly concerned. I'm not going to shed any tears for players who aren't fit, because we can replace them. I know we've seen Arve Henderson once or twice. I think he certainly played in the first team, either on or off recording. He's pretty good. Or he's going to develop into something pretty good. And you'll probably see usually he starts being a left back, but I decided not to use him today in the 20th, and we'll just kill the ratings, because frankly you don't expect it. And there we go. We've conceded already. Like I said, we never expect to win these games, and we don't care if we do. Keltak, actually, who got the assist, does play in their first team, which is slightly unusual. I think he's also an international. I know he played against me when I played them earlier on. But you see, these guys are just getting in each other's way, playing the same role. Leslie's through, should score, he doesn't. We're going to create chances, like I said, purely because a lot of the players Mariki have got are the greyed out players. They're never really good for anything. You can beat a team of greyed out players at Barcelona, in one of the Barcelona teams, with a decent conference side, quite honestly, just because they rate so lowly in the way the game's engine works. But like I say, you see, like, we're not producing much. Like, we're not producing many chances. We're not producing many shots. Possession we're keeping better than I would expect to, which I think is just because this team's so poor. Like, a team like this shouldn't be able to, or a tactical setup like this shouldn't be able to hold this much possession against a significant opponent, purely because these guys are trying to make each other, are passing to each other, trying to make plays for the front two. They're doing the same job. That's not how you would want to set up a game you cared about. Liao's playing forward for Hatabi with a cross, Sumar with a goal. And this is what we've been doing in the under-20s all season. We're not playing a tactic that's genius. In terms of winning games, it is literally a developmental tactic, because these players are so much better than what they're coming up against, because frankly our third or fourth choice teams could beat most of what's in this league. And a lot of these players actually are internationals in their own right. We're still getting goals, and they're always, they always look good. There's usually a cross connecting to a header, and that's, it's basic lower league stuff. So the game's kind of ticking by. Whilst we're doing the ticking by, I'm just going to think where I plug everything. So like I say, I always say this, follow me on Twitter. I'm at ChasingLamely, spelled exactly as below, but with no space, because not necessary. Sumar's got another goal, puts us in the lead. You'll find links underneath for the Patreon. I've just, as I said in the last video, you may or may not have heard it because the audio was a bit shit. There are rewards now, so if you want to have a regen named after you when they come through, if we get one that's good enough to make it into the first team, do that. We'll follow him. We'll follow his career. Get your name in the, it's the standard reward stuff. If you follow the Patreon link in the description below, you should be able to find the post I've put up there that explains what the rewards are for whatever level of donation. We go tied back at 2-2. That's not a huge drama. Let's skip that. But also, hit the like and subscribe buttons. There is a new series going to be coming out alongside this one. Now I finally found a way I can record on a regular basis. He says recording this at 2 o'clock in the morning when he probably should be sleeping. There is a new series coming up. It's going to be a little bit controversial. You guys are either going to love it or hate it, depending on your affiliation and passions for certain clubs. But it should be a lot of fun. I'll as soon as I get that out, you guys will of course know. But if you subscribe, you'll know faster, because you'll have to watch the next video of this to find out what's going on. I'm going to do a couple of experiments as well over the next couple of weeks, which should be interesting. There's a couple of things that's not been seen before, as far as I know, on YouTube. I know you guys like a good experiment. I'll do a bit more of an in-depth tactical thing at some point. I know I said I was going to do it over Christmas. I didn't get the time for that over Christmas. but I want to kind of go through the tactical roles and show you guys how to build a tactic and the little things like that. That was a shameful giveaway, penalty standard. But yeah, you know, the channel is going to grow. We're going to do some new exciting things. Part of the reason I wanted to do the second save, if I'm being completely honest, is because I want to get the viewing figures up, and I know the way YouTube works is that you're going to type in Football Manager 18, Arsenal, you know, Barcelona, Bayern. You guys are going to look for the clubs you want to see before you find little videos about me buggering about in a tiny island in the South Pacific. Obviously there's no point doing this content if I can't get people to actually come and watch it. So we're trying to attract people into the channel using a slightly bigger team. But it should be a lot of fun. And there's a few other things I'm sort of toying with. I want to do a save where we kind of play the Moneyball way as well. Partly because I think it will be a lot of fun, it'll be interesting. It's something I've wanted to explore, just, you know, as a gamer and as a football fan, just to kind of understand, especially because I want, you know, I'm a baseball fan as much as I am a football fan. I've seen how it's developed in that league, in Major League Baseball, and I want to see if it's got an application in football, and FM's the best way to test it without having to buy a club, which the Patreon donations currently won't allow me to do. And that's kind of, you know, the other things I want to test like that, because I really, especially now we've got the ability to look at statistics in the game. We've got the data analysts who should be able to give me that kind of information you need to actually do Moneyball style things. I'm going to bring on some subs just because there's some players looking tired and you never know when you might need them. So it'll give us a chance to learn together how the new data analysis modules will work in Football Manager, for now and going forward. And who knows, maybe we uncover a couple of little hidden gems. But we're gonna try something with that at some stage. I don't know if it'll be a long ongoing sort of 100 episode series, or if it'll be something we just try out for a couple of seasons and see what develops. Chances are, because, you know, I haven't quite figured out the full logistics of how to adapt Moneyball to football, which, you know, the people trying it in real life, the Brentfords and the Barnsleys and whatever of the world, haven't quite figured out either. There's a decent chance I'll get fired. We hope not. So this is kind of, yeah, there's going to be a few little things coming up. It's worth keeping an eye on. Obviously I need to, as well, there's going to be a bit of a balance, because I'm a university student, so you'll find by the end of towards the end of January, I'll keep what goes up on the channel to a bare minimum. There may not be a daily upload, it might be once or twice or 3 times a week, depending on my workload. So I'm going to apologise for that now, because, you know, I know consistency is the key when building a channel, but also, you know, at the end of the day I'm paying a lot of money to be at a university, and I'd quite like to focus on that. And yes, I did just say in the same video I've been playing Football Manager since the mid-90s, and I'm a student. I'm also in my 30s. Sometimes I feel like I'm running a crash, but that's life. Continue the game. It's a 3-3 draw. We're still unbeaten. Hopefully it's going to stay unbeaten. And I should go show you. If I'd gone out with the tactic we have for the first team in this game, I guarantee we would have smashed I guarantee it. But it was never about that. It's just about giving these guys as much game time as possible. As Bracota puts us through to the next round, beautiful last minute winner, which is great. It's more game time for these guys playing with this formation. In a tournament I don't care if they win, but more games is always good. It's only, you know, the first team league season is only 14 games, and, you know, another dozen or so when you take cups into account. So trying to get as many games into these guys as we can is always good. Hopefully the ref's going to blow a whistle sometime soon, because frankly our job here is done. So you're seeing how it works in action. There are things you can kind of look at and go, oh, that's really good, I'd love to try that. You know, it is nice watching players, but like I said, please bear in mind, as much as it's produced an exciting game of football, it's produced a lot of highlights, it's produced some good action. My team is so much better than what we've just beaten. It's not even funny. Like I said, if we played with the first, with the same tactics we used in the first team, if we played with a tactic that I'd tailored a little bit more to the current strengths of this team, this would have been 7 or 8-0, and that's not an exaggeration. That's the difference between the two teams. So, that's just kind of the way it goes. I'm going to leave it there. This was kind of supposed to be a short bonus episode, and I've just waffled on talking rubbish for a while. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to share it, because the more people who are watching, the more it kind of drives me to create more content and more interesting content. And I kind of want to be able to provide you guys with really insightful stuff. As I've said before in one of the other videos, I used to be one of the researchers for the game up until I think it was 16 or 17. So I do have these weird kind of inner workings knowledge that I can bring in. Not too much. There's some things I can't say because of contractual reasons. But there might be little things I can tell you from the inside a little bit that can help you to kind of develop the way you play. See, we've made the quarterfinals. That's a good sign. So yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow me on Twitter. Like I said, it's ChasingLamely. If you want to hit the Patreon, I'm not going to force you to be a patron. I don't want to be begging. But you get a little reward, you get a little bit of fun out of it. You get still a bit of the other stuff I kind of do when I'm not doing the studying thing as well. If you look on the Patreon, I write books, so you can if you want to, you can pay a bit of cash in, and the book I'm working on at the moment, you can be a character in the book. I'm not saying it's going to be Harry Potter and sell 1 billion copies, but if it does, who knows? There could be a film version of you being played by Angelina Jolie. Who knows? But that's it. So check out the Patreon. There's an Amazon wish list. Just if you got, I know you guys don't want to buy me stuff, but it gives you an idea. If nothing else, gives you an idea of the kind of human I am. Because you'll see the stuff I like. I've looked on Amazon. I've gone, ooh, I'd like that, and I've put it on a wish list, desperately hoping someone who likes me will buy it. Because God knows I can't afford to. But that's it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I will hopefully either this is going to be episode 5.5, I think, rather than episode 6. We'll see how I feel once I've gone and eaten something. But whether or not I'll do episode 6 as well tonight, and this will be a bonus episode, or this will just be today's episode as it is. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.